I desperately need to rearrange my garage. I had a quick look through YouTube the other day and it came to my attention that no one so far has published a video on how to adjust the chain on a T120. Probably because you've got to take the silencers off to actually get at it and nobody could be bothered. Can't say that I really blame them. I've owned a lot of bikes in my time and I've never come across a situation where it is actually necessary to take the silencers off to adjust your chain. But there you go, you've got to make the best of a bad job. Now, I've got to admit I have been putting this off for some time, but then I realised the other day that my silencers have been removed and I've got the British Customs exhaust tips on. So I thought this was probably the perfect time to do a video and show you how to do it. Now, I didn't really see the point of putting the silencers back on to show you how to take them off because I've already done that in the British Customs exhaust tip video that I did a few weeks ago. So if you look to the top right hand corner of the screen, I'll leave a link there that shows you how to remove them. I know people have posted videos suggesting that with special curved spanners etc you might be able to do it, but to be quite honest I just don't think it's worth the hassle. You may as well just remove them. You might just get away with leaving the left hand silencer on, I'm not sure, and I'd like to hear from anybody that's done this to see what their thoughts are on. Right, so we're going to assume now that your silencers are off and your bike is on your side stand. In order to measure the slack on your chain, the bike must be resting on both wheels without any weight on it. Ideally, the bike should be upright, so if you've got a second person that can help you while you measure it, that would be the best, but you can do it on the side stand. I've never encountered any problems doing it this way. Now, adjusting your chain is something that you used to do at least every couple of months, but modern chains are far better quality than they used to be. So unless you hammer your bike or you do a lot of mileage, I would be surprised if you have to do it more than once or twice a year, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't be checking them regularly. Now, you should always measure the slack on your chain on the bottom run of the chain, midway between the front and rear sprocket. And for the T120, Triumph reckon that you should have between 20 and 30 millimeters slack. So if it's under 20 millimeters, it's too tight. If it's over 30 millimeters, it's too slack. Now, mine in actual fact was nearer 35 millimeters, so it was overdue for being adjusted. First thing you need to do is just slacken off the nut to the wheel spindle. Usually there's a nut on the other side that you have to hold to stop it from spinning, but in this case it's a captive spindle, so there's no need to do that. You just loosen it off from the right hand side. Now, there's no need to go mad, you just slacken it off slightly so that you can just, with a little bit of force with your fingers, spin the actual washer behind the nut. If you do it too slack, it can cause you all sorts of problems trying to align the wheel and keep everything where it should be. So just a little bit of friction is a good thing here. It allows you to adjust your chain without the wheel slopping about all over the place. Now, your spindle nut is a 27 millimeter, so you're going to need a 27 millimeter socket. You're also going to need two 13 millimeter open-ended spanners. The next thing to do is just to slacken off the locking nuts on both sides of your adjuster. I usually found that 1/4 of an inch is enough. Once you've done that, it's time to actually start adjusting your chain. Now, I knew this chain was quite a way out, so initially I adjusted both sides by 3/4 turns. When you've done that, check your measurement in the middle of your chain again and see how much it's adjusted by. It's amazing, a tiny movement can adjust the chain by quite a lot, so don't overdo it. Now, in my case, I found this hadn't been quite enough, so another 2/4 turns either side I thought would be about right, but I then found it was too tight at well under 20 millimeters slack. Now, this is where some people can run into problems because you've then got to slacken your adjuster off and get the wheel to move forward to create some more slack. But there is a very quick and simple way of doing this, a method that I've used for years and it works like a charm. All you need is a good sized rubber mallet or soft faced mallet, and after you've screwed your adjuster nut back in a couple of millimeters, give the back of your tyre 2 or 3 sharp knocks towards the front of the bike, and that should push your wheel forward up to your adjusters again. then it's time to check your measurements again. Now at this point I found it to be around about 21-22 millimeters, which is close enough for me. Try not to be too OCD about it and adjust it right down to 20 millimeters, because it's just going to cause you a lot of hassle, and 21-22 millimeters is well within the tolerances in the handbook. Now before you tighten up your locking nuts, you need to just make sure that your wheel is adjusted evenly on both sides of the spindle. I know all bikes do have markers on the adjustment brackets, but to be honest I found it easier just to use a ruler of some sort. Check it 2 or 3 times on both sides, and also make sure that the adjuster is tight up to the head of the adjusting bolts. There's no point measuring it and then finding out that you had a 2 millimeter gap between the slider and the head of your adjusting bolt. Make sure that everything's as it should be. In this case I found it was 4.2 centimeters on both sides, and when you're certain that both sides are equal, it's time to tighten up your locking nuts. Hold the head of your adjusting bolt while you do this, otherwise it may have a tendency as you turn the locking nut to also turn the adjusting bolt, and then you're back to square one. The manual says that 20 Newton meters is the correct torque setting for these. I've got no idea how you're supposed to be able to measure that. I think this is just one of those cases where common sense should prevail. Once you've tightened both locking nuts up, again check that the slider is touching the head of both adjusting bolts and remeasure. Once you're satisfied that nothing's moved, tighten up your wheel spindle nut. The owner's manual says that the torque settings for this particular nut is 110 Newton meters, which does seem awfully tight to me. I checked it and double checked it, and it is correct. So torque your wheel spindle nut up to 110 Newton meters. Just a couple more things before you think you've finished. Remeasure either side again, make sure nothing's moved, and then recheck your chain tension to make sure nothing's moved. If everything checks out, you should be good to go. Now, just a word of warning at this time of the year, we have quite cold temperatures during the night times, and then during the day get a bit of sunshine and the temperatures rise, and condensation becomes a problem in your garage, especially on your bike. In fact, if left unchecked, the condensation will stay there for weeks or even months. Keep an eye on it. If necessary, just get a towel and dry your bike off periodically, or if you can, during the day, on a dry day when it's a little bit breezy, if you can, leave your garage door open for an hour or two, let the air circulate around your garage. It's just one of those things that helps keep corrosion at bay on your bike, because it will rust even in your garage. Right, that's about it for this week. I hope you've enjoyed this video and that you've found it useful. Thanks for watching. Please leave a like and subscribe to my channel. Part 2 of the Payday Project series will be published a week next Wednesday, and as always I'll be back next Friday, so I'll see you then.